You're listening to a DM podcast.
We would like to acknowledge and give thanks to the traditional owners of the land we record this podcast on, the Yagara and Turrbal people,
and their continued connection to the land and waterways on which we meet.
Hello and welcome to Sportish, where we look at life through the lens of sport.
Yes.
I'm Georgie Trickett.
Hello, Georgie. I'm Libby Trickett.
This is our summer series, our summer Sportish episodes, because we're at the beach.
Yes.
And we wanted to bring you some really cool chats with some of our Sportish friends and people who we wanted to get to know and understand a bit more about the cool things they're doing.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're really passionate about, is like highlighting the incredible work that so many different people are doing in different spaces in sport. And we are so lucky to have Holly Bailey in the chat today.
Holly is the founder of Play Like a Girl, and she is all about empowering women through sport.
Love.
Holly, can you tell us a little bit more about how Play Like a Girl came to be?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. Loving being part of the summer series. I'm feeling the summer vibes. So happy to be sitting down with you today. Play Like a Girl has definitely evolved over the last 8 to 9 years. So it really was started from the pain of almost regret from my own sporting life. I'd been a mad netballer growing up. That was my first sporting love. And I'd grown up in a pretty competitive family, mainly raised by my dad and brother. So in our world, it was we'd be going to the footy every weekend or to the cricket, following them around with a ball in hand most of the time. And so when it came to sport, all I knew was to compete against the boys, and that's what you got to do to keep up. So we're a competitive family, and I loved that. I loved that side of me, and I still do. However, in my sport, that was good to a degree, but there were some things that I probably learned a little bit later, particularly around playing in a team and leadership, that some of that stuff I had to unlearn. But I guess the first kind of unlock of what I think was the beginning seed of Play Like a Girl was through my netball. I started to get to play in higher grades and started to get a few knockbacks for the first time, and I would take that really personally and think, how am I going to get through this? And occasionally those little thoughts would come into my mind, maybe not good enough, maybe it's a short girl problem, whatever it might be. And then a little way down the track, I got the opportunity to play at a grade higher than I thought that I probably could. And when I got there, I went along and played a really good game. And the coach was like, "Oh, where have you been? You played amazing,
Yeah.
And I just said, I wasn't sure of how I'd go at this level. And he's just like, "Well, you just killed it. And I just put a girl in the level above this one who's your height. So any of that stuff, not the truth." And just because I'm such an all-in kind of gal and want to give everything to whatever I do, that was just a really crushing moment, because I will never forget it, because it kind of washed over me like a big wave, thinking, that's not the truth. That was something that I had made up, and that's my own story. And it kind of had me think in that moment, well, I don't want that for myself. I really regret now. At the time, I just thought, I don't want that for me. I don't want that for anyone else. I don't even know what I'm going to do about it yet. But that was kind of the beginning of an unraveling of thinking about how I think about things.
When did you finish up your netball, and how then did you move into creating Play Like a Girl? Was it just like you finished your netball and you were working, or what led you to this point then?
Yeah, so that moment happened, I guess. I'm still playing netball, well, I'll say in a casual competition. I would say I'm not the most casual person.
Holly, I feel you in my soul.
Yep. Okay, no chill over here whatsoever.
Zero chill.
Yeah, absolutely. So netball, I ended up playing footy for a few years, and I'm a mad golfer, and sport's still very much my existence. But going from that moment, I guess, to turning Play Like a Girl what it is today, was I just really started trying to immerse myself in any kind of education I could, whether that be taking on courses at work. I was working in project management roles in a career setting, and taking on as many courses and reading as many books, and just trying to figure out how I wanted to be in the world, knowing that how I thought before probably wasn't going to work for me moving forward. And as I was having these kind of new learning experiences and opening my mind up to what is really possible in the world, I thought, I've never had a conversation of this nature in sport. particularly in the context of two things. One of those was from a mindset perspective, that there are actually tools and techniques that you can use to identify when you're thinking in a way that's not productive. And that was going, I was like, why are we not talking about this? This would have come in real handy, you know? And then from a leadership perspective, I'd been the captain in a lot of the different teams that I was in. And I, again, learned quite a lot later than I would have liked to, that it wasn't about me anymore. It's like you get into leadership and it has to be about how we get the best out of the people around me. And I had to learn that through doing it the wrong way for a lot of the time. And again, I wish that I'd had some development around it and that there was a wealth of tools and so many conversations going on about these kinds of topics. And it just dawned on me that I wanted to go and start opening up dialogue around this. So for 3 or 4 years, I was between football or between netball and work, going around and running these little workshops of let's talk about what it's going to take if we're ambitious, that these things are going to come up and there is a whole lot of tools and stuff that we can use to actually stay on track. So that was kind of the beginning again of what has now evolved into another version of Play Like a Girl.
Holly, I'm really interested, this feeling that you had that you were too short to be involved in netball and to take it anywhere. Do you think that's something that lots of women feel in a sporting context and also outside of sport in a work or a professional or a home context?
Totally. Insert limitation here, whether it's short, tall, big, small, whatever that might be. I think that it's a thought that is repeated over a period of time. It becomes this belief that is instilled and we kind of lose track of where it got instilled in the first place. So yes, absolutely. And I remember having a great podcast of ours where we had a professional netballer on and she had talked about her sort of insecurities about being too tall. And we had this great conversation. I think that those things can really become ingrained and become limitations when they really shouldn't be. They probably are the thing that makes us good at what we do in the first place. But I think that the more that we have conversations and just get it outside of our system, we have the ability to shine a light on it and then move through it.
So these programs and workshops that Play Like a Girl has created, is it primarily directed at competitive athletes or is it kind of targeted at everyone? Because I can see how it would work in the competitive environment, but I can also see how it works in just life and those limiting beliefs that we all have in some way, shape or form and how that makes us get in our own way. As Georgie, alluded to, all the different contexts that we live life. Are you wanting to direct it more at the competitive athletes or at anyone?
Anyone, any female with a connection to sport whatsoever. So we have people who are playing, coaching, administrating, volunteering, any role that you can think of. There is a connection to sport, then our programs will be something that you will enjoy. Yes, we're talking about it through the lens of sport. So where I'm really conscious around saying that I don't know how to win gold medals, we'd be having a very different conversation if that was what I knew how to do. What I can do is use the lessons that sport teach us and move that into a context that is practical that we can use in our lives, whether that be sport, leadership or otherwise.
Love that.
So we have people from all walks of life. We have people who are in their corporate life but like playing sport. We have Irish dancers. We have people doing Pilates. We have people who love walking. We also have people archery, softball, netball, cricket, any sport or recreational activity. I think that coming into a community like this, you can still pick up the lessons from sport, even if you're not the sportiest gal getting around.
I love that. It's so important because that's what Georgie and I like to talk about, like the lessons that we can have from sport and not just playing sport at the elite level, but playing it forever. And those lessons that you can learn, you can literally take it to anywhere else in your life and apply it.
It's something we've been talking about a lot, is this idea that when you play sport and you play a variety of sports, you develop a whole lot of different skills and they're not necessarily stuck on the field or on the track or in the pool. They can be applied in so many different settings. I'm really interested with your program, what have been some of the aha moments for your participants?
I don't think I ever get comfortable with the idea of how many hats people are wearing when they come into our program. So we've got heaps of different tools and resources, but some of the things that I think that we do and provide really well that people really need is our program goes for a 6-week period. So we offer lots of different tools and techniques. There might be reading exercises, podcasts, a whole range of different ways to learn and immerse in content, but giving people time to focus on themselves for 6 weeks, whether, it's an hour and a half a week that we get together with a cohort of 25 other women and girls involved in sport who have got ambitions, whether that be on field or off, them getting together to talk about how they're performing, what they really want, how they'd like to be and how they're going to go about doing that. The time and space is a gift in itself.
Yes.
So that's
Totally.
they might be trying to play sport. They've got kids. They might be a president of a netball club or on a committee, or they're wearing so many different hats. And it's any wonder we can't be great at all things because there are so many things that we're trying to manage. So time and space is one thing. And I think the community now that we're building, people are so passionate about wanting to create great experiences for women and girls. And for a lot of that time, I think that we feel like we're doing it on our own, or that we're the ones that are carrying the burden of that on our shoulders. And the community now that we're creating, we're meeting women that might be in a rural community, the first time president of a rugby club who doesn't have any females or a network whatsoever to bounce ideas off or challenges off. And so that community that we're creating is just something that is really unique because, you know, we want to be supportive. We want to give them a place where it's safe for them to come and talk about what's been going on. So the community part is super important. And then just a safe space because people are really fighting some battles out there. I think we talk about progress a lot, but I think at the cold face of what's going on at sport, there are some real challenges as well. So to know that people aren't alone in that, I think is a really valuable place that we can create.
I was just going to say, Holly, speak to us about those challenges that you're hearing about.
I can talk to some of them. So I think just seeing almost classic case study examples of inequality in sport has been a real theme of this year. Getting access to so many different people's stories, just classic case examples such as there is a sporting organisation that have a men's program and a women's program, and any funding that comes in goes directly to the men's, and then the conversation ends up being, oh, the women's program isn't making enough money or they're not performing at the level that we want them to. So
like, I wonder why that is.
Wonder why that is. Wow, what a revelation. Things like that can be frustrating, or simply I think one of the really common, I guess, conversations, or one of the themes of conversation I've been having a lot lately is women who are now finding themselves on boards or on committees and what a tough time they are having on there, whether that be because of the culture, it's a really low performing board, or that their voice is not being heard. And I really deeply understand how hard that can be. So what's happening is that, yes, they're getting on boards, but then leaving not long after because most of them are voluntary, and to get on there and have such a hard time is really difficult. So I understand why they're leaving. So I guess this year's been really eye-opening from a lot of perspectives. So there's been a lot of lessons in that. And whilst I think we want to continue to empower our females, I don't plan on stopping that. There is a lot of work to be done, and we will certainly never be out of work, that's for sure.
I'm really interested. I mean, I'm just reading the very first few words about you on the website, and it says you grew up in a competitive environment influenced by your family, and that brought its own set of challenges. And because you've obviously have worked through and embraced that competitive element of your personality, but what did you feel like were the challenges working through that intensity, I would call it?
Yeah, definitely. That sort of exploration around my mid-20s had me realize I'm still saying the things that my family say. I am not someone who would willingly open myself up to let people get to know me, or I wouldn't really have any ability to express myself how I was really feeling. That's directly taken out of my family. Very tough. Like, you can't be soft. You've got to just get on with it. If there's any real issues, we just sweep it under the rug. We didn't really delve into things. So
resonate so much with that.
Really? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I felt that I was still being the boys without kind of thinking about what do I bring as a person in this world and what are some of those attributes and skills, and a soft side that I had learned to reject or suppress. I knew or learned or started to understand that that's actually the really hard stuff. How can I now go out and start to allow people to get to know me so they can start to trust me and therefore be a better leader for them? Or how can I go and now start to understand what I can do best to help my teammates or players or people around me? And for some people that was normal and easy, but for me that really wasn't. So yeah, really allowing myself to be seen in all versions was never something that would be encouraged or allowed in our family. So there's a whole lot of work that's gone into that and continues to go into it. And I guess the other big thing was which is kind of the essence of Play Like a Girl, is those things that had been suppressed are really beautiful things. And I love the competitive side and I love that masculine kind of energy that I've taken from my family, but it's the balance of both that make the powerhouse happen.
Right?
You know? Yeah. And being a female in a male-dominated space, I absolutely know the strength in that. And if we can continue to highlight that, and if us as women can keep connecting to that, then I think that it's just going to be a better society generally.
Holly, when I went into my first career, it was a mix of male and females, but predominantly at the top, it was very male dominated. And I was just really lucky to have been put in a group with a female partner who was the lead, and she was like my mentor in that business. And it was really striking to me to be put alongside of a woman who really embraced the positive aspects of being female in a workplace and really struck out on her own about what that looked like, be it visually. She didn't adhere to a corporate dress attire. And I was like, this is great. Okay, so we don't have to all dress like robots. We can dress how differently. And she also approached things really differently in her work. And I was just so incredibly lucky to work with a person like that. And she's still very much, that definitely influences me today. Have you had role models that have helped you identify the brilliance and the importance of, I guess, a more feminine perspective?
100%. So when I first came into my first job, I was working in an accounting firm in the city, and I would just get there and all I knew was like, head down, work hard, leave your personality at the door, essentially. And that was my boss at the time. I would have been 18 or 19. And he said to me, I think he thought I was really shy, which I am not shy. I didn't want to be too much at work. And so he would say, I think that you should start networking and meeting people. And I thought, well, that sounds like a nightmare. I don't want to do that. Everyone, in that workforce was much older than me. But he sort of encouraged me and introduced me to a mentor at the time. And she just opened my eyes up to what kind of career opportunities there would be. And we just catch up every now and then. And then I started going to networking events. And I mean, for the first probably 3 or 4 years of that, I would walk in there like sweating, thinking this is a nightmare. I don't know anyone. I feel so out of place here, but I'm competitive. So I didn't want my boss to know that I was not very good at this thing. And so I was like, I have to keep going. There's no other option. I must commit. And so I ended up getting there was a lady who was doing some coaching around whatever people needed help with at one of these sessions. And I asked her, I'm like, what is going on? When I walk into these rooms, I'm nervous. I don't feel like myself. And we ended up doing a little bit of work around it. And what we identified was that I felt my most confident when I would interact with people and start a conversation myself, not wait for someone else to come over, where it was almost as if I was giving my power or confidence away to somebody else. So that lesson served me so well in networking, in sport, starting a new team. Don't wait for people to come over. Go over there and interact and start talking, because then you feel more confident. So that was just like so important. So mentors from a really early age have been massive. The one that I'm thinking of, she's now on my advisory board for Play Like a Girl. I remember being in this room. The first time I met her, it was a room full of blokes. So it was all kind of media and advertising guys that had been around for a while, and they all know everyone and know everything. And this one woman was just sat there, and she hadn't said much, but then when she did, she just very calmly, assertively kind of said, okay, and just put her point forward. And the way that she articulated herself, the way that she managed her energy, the way that she almost demanded respect without being authoritative. It was just like the most beautiful display of leadership in that room. And I saw that and I thought, oh my God, I want to be able to do that. She is outstanding. And women like that, or people that I meet along the way, I'm just like, I'm hanging on to you. I want to learn as much as I can from you. I love the way that you did that. And now she's in an amazing role. She'd been in various CEO roles, but people like that are just so inspiring. And that's certainly the kind of leadership that I want to be able to display in a room like that can be really difficult, and it can be easy to sort of want to lead like other people are, but she just was such a beautiful example of a better way to go about things.
One of the things that I have loved about getting to know you and your work and the conversations that you and Georgie have been having and all of those sorts of things, you are someone who is obviously competitive, but you don't think that you know everything. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think that's a really important thing. And you have been so supportive of other women in sport, and particularly us and what we're trying to achieve. And I can see so many alignments in all of the messages that you're giving out. Is that something you've consciously done? Because it's very easy, particularly in male-dominated roles, in male-dominated industries, as Georgie and I know very well, like you feel almost more competitive sometimes with women who are going into those roles. Has that been something that's been really kind of front of mind for you, to be an advocate, to be supportive, to platform other women in sport as well?
I don't know when it happened, but I think even through my teenage years when we would sort of have groups of friends that would, we'd go out. I always just felt like so proud that those girls are with me. Like that's my group of people. And I just like would do anything for them. I think like when I meet people or people want to work together and there's an authenticity or there's a connection, like my loyalty is really strong. So I would just do anything to look after them or protect them, especially if they're putting themselves out there. So I don't know that I consciously chose it, but it comes from deep within, like that fierce passion to look after people. And through kind of the discovery of what we're doing, like I'm deeply driven for like a liberation of all people. Like liberation of women and girls is like my passion, but I want everyone to be completely liberated in their choices and their ambitions and whatever it is they want to do. And I don't know where that comes from. It feels like really deep down, but that's sort of my personal overarching purpose, I guess. The liberation of women and girls is my thing.
Like it's a real abundance mindset rather than that kind of scarcity mindset, which I just think is really interesting and not as much as we like to think that would be really common, but it's actually not very common.
You know what's coming to mind? I think that some lessons that I've been learning, some of the harder ones or more challenging people or relationships that I've had along the way, men and women. It's certainly not like I'm yet all for the girls, but there have certainly been females that it's been really challenging with as well. And some of those, I think sometimes we have expectations that all women should be all for the girls, and that's not the case.
Yeah,
so
totally.
That's been another sort of eye-opening moment, or just a moment to reflect and think about anyone's context, not necessarily what I think they should be or hope them to be.
I think it's what we, in looking at Play Like a Girl and understanding more about it, what I really love is that it's like a cultural change. So you're bringing together women from all walks of life who are experiencing sport and operating in sport at all different levels or have a connection to sport. And it's that real mentality of we can work together to make this better. And by making yourself better, we can make this whole ecosystem work more strategically, more effectively, and really drive change for women and girls in sport. I think it's just so brilliant to see these sort of programs available. And I particularly love that you have a scholarship program. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. And you absolutely summarised that so beautifully. So thank you. So our scholarship program has been running for the way that we've been running our programs over the last 4-ish years now has been virtually. So they're available to women and girls right across the country from every sporting code from the age of 15 and up. Now, I've played sport for my whole life, and you two have also been very immersed in sport. A lot of our female sporting programs do not always have the resources they need, and sometimes a leadership program, the cost of that could be their coach or their staff or their equipment. So from the very first stages of running our pilot program, we had a sponsor come on board and loved the idea of this program that we were going to offer. We're able to provide tools and guest speakers and all of these resources that we know people are going to need. He is my accountant, and he already managed some footballers and some cricketers, and he saw the program and said, I absolutely love this. I want to sponsor the first 50 girls to do this program. And I had 50 written on my mirror for months as a dream.
Wow.
I hadn't told anyone that, and when I got that call, I thought, this is amazing. And so what that set up for us was that scholarship program that's been running for the last 4 years, where anyone who is interested in doing our programs can jump onto the website and they can read a bit about the program and they can apply for a fully funded scholarship thanks to our partners. So that initial partnership gave us the structure or the framework to now go, well, let's keep doing that. Let's make sure that that's always available and that the financial barriers aren't going to be the thing that get in the way. So we work really hard to make sure we've always got scholarships available. So we have great partners that believe in what we're doing, who want to be part of it, and we'll keep funding those scholarships so people can come in and be part of our program, be part of this national network that we've now got. And I think those partners now can see how it's evolving, in the sense that, yes, we started because we want to empower women and girls in sport, but we have a real shot at closing that leadership gap because we've got women and girls right across this country with the desire to lead, and now they're able to help us give them that opportunity. So for any of our partners that are listening, we are so grateful and thankful for it. And for anyone else who wants to get on board and have skin in the game and actually do something to help us advance women and girls in sport, that's the way to do it.
You know, for people who are listening and want to learn more about your resources and your programs and the scholarships, is playlikeagirlaustralia.com the best place to go?
absolutely. All the information's there.
I know for me, I'm so grateful as a mother of 3 young girls that they have role models like yourself who are advocating for women and girls in sport, who are driving that change. Yeah, I'm so thankful for the work that you're doing, and I cannot wait to see Play Like a Girl just continue to grow and thrive and make a difference. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sportish. We love your support. Feel free to send us an email or a DM with any things you'd like us to chat about, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.